Here's a mock draft I did with the 8th pick overall. I'm going to break down and talk about the strategy I had going into this draft with fantasy football starting within the next few weeks. 8th pick, Christian McCaffrey was there. And on my board, he's the 7th overall pick for me, Christian McCaffrey. I know last season it was a lost season, a lot of injuries, missed the majority of the year. But actually, he was healthy by January's McCaffrey. So now that's 6-7 months. He's been healthy and ready to go. He got stem cell treatment, which obviously a lot of players are starting to do that for injuries to heal quicker and longevity more in the NFL career. So McCaffrey, like I said, he's number 7 overall on my board. For me to get him at 8, obviously I like the value because he just still has, I think, that top appeal is McCaffrey. If he stays healthy, his ceiling could be higher than almost any player. Then second round, Brian Thomas Jr. last year, monster rookie year for Brian Thomas. Now with Travis Hunter in this offense as well, there's not going to be a lot of double teams, I think, on Brian Thomas. I know last year he did a lot of it without Trevor Lawrence, who was out majority of the season as well with his injuries and taking some bad hits, was Trevor Lawrence. But Brian Thomas, big play, wide receiver. He can run the routes. He's got that breakaway home run ability. And I think in the second round, especially almost mid-second round, is a perfect spot for Brian Thomas. Then third round, Trey McBride. He was the best player, in my opinion, left on the board. I'm not big on tight ends, but if I could get obviously a good deal in a tight end like a McBride, second tight end overall in fantasy football this season, at the back end of the third round, I would go out there and do it. Where obviously you would have an advantage then at the tight end position pretty much over anyone this season, with McBride having a monster year last year, and this offense I think could take the next step. And with Marvin Harrison in his second year, I think defenses, they're going to have to just roll coverage more Harrison's way at times, and McBride could get those one-on-one matchups or those zone matchups with the middle of the field open. Then the fourth round, Mike Evans, 11 seasons in the league, 11,000 yard plus years for Mike Evans. I know he's entering the latter part out of his prime is Mike Evans, but still a big-time receiver. He missed a few games with injury, but he still goes out there, he puts up numbers. Him and Baker Mayfield have a great rapport. And to get a receiver with good upside like Mike Evans in the fourth round is good value. Then fifth round, after I only went with running back early in the first round, Tony Pollard still was sitting there. And Pollard, he got off to a nice start last year with his new team in the Tennessee Titans. And obviously Cam Ward, they drafted number 1 overall. I think he can help the offense. Tony Pollard, a decent receiver out of the backfield as well. I think he'd go out there and make some plays for this Tennessee Titan team. Then in the 6th round, Torrey McMillan, I'm big on him coming into the year. He's going to easily be the number 1 wide receiver for this Carolina Panther team. He's a big-time threat. He's a big mismatch as well, 6'3", 6'4", where most corners are 5'10", 5'11", will have the height advantage, has the athleticism, big playability, one of the top wide receivers coming out this season in the NFL draft. Then the 7th round, I went with Jalen Warren. I still think he's going to get a majority of the work early on in the season over the rookie Johnson. Warren, we know, a good receiver out of the backfield. Injuries last season did do Warren in. He was dealing with a hamstring, foot injuries at times last year for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. But him and Caleb Johnson, 2 backs over there. Najee Harris left in free agency. He went to the Los Angeles Chargers. Then 8th round, I think good value for Bo Nix last year. Took the league by storm in his rookie year was Bo Nix, and he could run the football well is Nix, where I think 300, 400 rushing yards isn't out of the realm a possibility for Bo Nix to go out there and do this season. So like I said, Bo Nix had a good rookie year. I know the weapons still aren't great. Cortland Sutton, the number 1 wide receiver. I know Evan Ingram, they got him in free agency, which was a good move in my opinion, even though Ingram last year was a lost season with injuries and non-performance. And 9th round, Deebo Samuel. Now with the problems over there with Terry McLaurin and his contract issues, Deebo Samuel, he could be that number 1 wide receiver if McLaurin holds out or if they trade him away before the season starts. But the problem with Deebo's been injuries, but this is a high-octane type of offense where they run a lot of gadgets, a lot of different designs. And with a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, I think Deebo Samuel, as long as he's healthy, could bounce back. And like I said, he's my 4th wide receiver anyway. Then 10th round, Cooper Kupp, someone who I keep finding in these later rounds here is Cooper Kupp. I know he's a Triple Crown winner a few seasons ago. One of the best wide receivers in the last decade was Cooper Kupp. But to get him in the 10th round is good value. I don't have to rely on him to become a starter. For me, is Cooper Kupp. And obviously, we know he goes out there and he makes plays, Cooper Kupp. So with his new team in Seattle, I think as long as he's healthy, it could be a decent year. Then the 11th round, the rookie Bashul Tootin. I think that backfield's wide open. I've taken Tootin a lot in these mocks where we know they got Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne, where those guys 50-50 split last season. Tank Bigsby in between the tackles, physical back, Travis Etienne more the finesse and receiving back, even though his receiving numbers haven't been great over the last couple of years. Then 12th round, Luther Burden the third. I find myself taking him in the later rounds as well, where he's got big upside potential. I know they got obviously DJ Moore, Roma Dunze at the wide receiver position over there in Chicago, but Luther Burden, they used good draft capital to bring him in. And now with Keenan Allen gone, going back to the Chargers as well in free agency, Burden, he can possibly make a run for that number 2 wide receiver position. And obviously with Ben Johnson as the head coach, and we saw what the Lions offense did over the last few seasons with him as the offensive coordinator, Burden could be a breakout rookie this year. And then to round out the draft, I went with his teammate Roscoe Johnson, where he has potential of stepping in, getting a bigger role in this backfield. I know DeAndre Swift, he's a starter obviously for the Chicago Bear team, but Roscoe, he's that number 2 running back in an injury or just DeAndre Swift getting off to a slow start and not performing. He could step in as Roscoe Johnson, and they didn't add anyone else really at all over the last couple seasons now as this Bear team in the backfield. So the final roster, where I drafted 8th overall, Bo Nix at quarterback. I think he could do it again, have a good year. Brian Thomas Jr., my number 1 wide receiver last year, monster breakout. And I think it's going to continue to be good for Brian Thomas. They're going to be trailing in a lot of games. Mike Evans, Mr. Reliable. The numbers are always there year in and year out for the most part for Mike Evans. Christian McCaffrey, if he's healthy, I still think he has potential to be top 2, top 3 player overall in fantasy football. That's just how good CMC is when healthy. Tony Pollard, not a great number 2 running back, but like I said, strategy was all over the place. I went with the best player available, and this is how the team shook out. But Tony Pollard, I think, still could be a serviceable number 2 back. Last season, especially early in the year, got off to a good start. Then Trey McBride, number 2 tight end, going off the board in fantasy drafts. Trey McBride, he can run all the routes, he can make the plays. Number 1 option in the passing game for the Arizona Cardinals. Then Teodoro McMillan, I think it could be a good rookie season for him with this Carolina Panther team. A big-time prospect coming out this season in the NFL draft. Jalen Warren, I still think to start off the bench, he could be solid for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. I know they got the rookie Johnson, but Warren, a good receiver out of the backfield. And Aaron Rodgers, he likes those veteran backs as well. Deebo Samuel, first season in Washington. He knows this is a contract season as well, so I think Deebo, he could go out there, he could make plays. And health has been the concern for Deebo, but when he's right and obviously healthy, he goes out there and he's still an explosive playmaker. Then Cooper Kupp, to have him as my 5th wide receiver. He's definitely been falling in these drafts, 9th, 10th round. First season with Seattle. I still think he has something left in the tank, is Cooper Kupp. I know it's a little bit of a downgrade from Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay's offense to Sam Darnold and the Seahawk offense, but I still think Kupp, especially where I got him, is great value. Then the rookie Bashul Tutin in these later rounds, you take rookies or younger players with opportunities to break out. And like I said, that backfield is open in my opinion with Bigsby, Travis Etienne, and Tutin. So to take a flyer, I think it's a good shot there. Then Luther Burden, another young player, like I said, good in college football. They use good draft capital on him. In this offense, they want as many weapons as possible with Ben Johnson as the head coach and to make Caleb Williams feel comfortable entering his 2nd season. And then Roscoe Johnson, he has potential to take over as the year goes on, or at least eat into the workload of DeAndre Swift, where he's been up and down over the last couple seasons. So that's 8th pick overall with my fantasy draft. And I think my team came out pretty well. Like I said, I went all over the place early, and maybe at number 2 running back a little weak, and even at the flex a little bit. McMillan might start off slow in his rookie year. So we'll see how these players perform. So that was the 8th pick overall, draft breakdown and strategy entering the 2025 fantasy football season.